Hi everyone, Andrea Donnelly here, Queen of the Cosmos. I am so happy to be doing this energy forecast. Straight up the past couple days, the energy has been really intense, right? Like, if you are watching this live with me, drop a little note in if you are in agreement with me about how crazy the energy has been. It has been a lot, and I say that all the time. I know I sound a little bit like a broken record, but it amped up. And didn't it feel like, now, you can all confirm this, but it felt like, at least for me, most of my very dear friends and my clients, that there was, how do I put this? That it was like trigger palooza. Like the past couple days, right? I've been talking for months about how November and December and January, my guides kept showing me were like really, really cathartic, very fast moving times of acceleration. So the opportunity to transmute a lot of trauma very quickly, your trauma, your karma, your drama, your pain, all of that, I call it your bag of rocks, like the bag of rocks. And then, but the past couple days have just felt really brutal. Like whatever it is that was the theme for most of us, it feels like especially yesterday got so amped up. Like I know a lot of you know that I struggled with anxiety and PTSD and depression for a long time. And whoa, did it just, especially yesterday, I had that feeling, like for those of you who have anxiety or have experienced that, you will know what I'm talking about. But that feeling of just like I was gonna like jump out of my skin. And there is a lot happening on the planet, right? There's a lot of very big, very cathartic change. We are moving through energies that are similar in some ways to the energies that were present on the planet leading up in the years leading up to World War II. And this is our chance as a human collective to make better, different choices that steward the earth. It's time. We all know it. It's really time. And as part of just how like brutal, especially yesterday, the energy was yesterday, I have struggled with insomnia for basically since I was a baby. And part of it has to do with the way that I hold energy for the planet, and I have worked a lot on, just exacting boundaries and really cutting off patterns of codependence and moving into a world where I am less, still very present, really doing my mission and my purpose, but really keeping myself removed in some ways from taking on other people's burden, and not in some ways, in all ways. I am no longer doing that. However, right, when the energy is high like this, if you are an empath, if you are a starseed, you're going to feel it, and then like pair that up with just the opportunity that all of us have had in recent days and months to really like move through a lot of stuff very quickly. It has created what feels like a powder keg or like a pressure cooker, right? Like we feel it in our own lives. We're witnessing it in the planet. And I fell asleep last night for 4 hours between 10 and 2. Woke up at 2. I was like, oh, I'll just, fingers crossed, go back to sleep again. I did not ever go back to sleep again. So I am riding a wave of having gotten about 4 hours of sleep. So excuse me, I feel like I'm not like necessarily looking my most glamorous right now. I look like someone who only got 4 hours of sleep, as it were, but it's fine. And I actually almost canceled this, or I almost postponed it and pushed it to tomorrow. And my guide said, it's too important. This window of opportunity that we have right now to really change things. We are wrapping up a lot, and I took a lot of notes. I don't always take notes before my energy forecasts, but it felt like this was a time where like my guides were like, you need to make sure to hit on these things because the energetics right now are so important, and we are all really moving into a space where we are being called to stand up for each other and to not fall for the same tricks that have been perpetrated essentially against us by the people who are in charge. We have to make better choices. We have to steward the earth. We have to stand up for each other. We can no longer allow corruption and war to be one of the biggest money makers on this planet, and B, a source of division. Because whatever we're being told about what's happening right now, I would put good money on the fact that whatever we're being told about why all of this conflict is happening in Eastern Europe, that there's way more to it. And I say that not just as someone who channels and gets really good, very accurate information from the angels, the fairy realm, the galactic community that I engage with, very high level spiritual masters, Jesus, Mary, Buddha, ascended masters, saints, sages. Like, I really channel very powerful light. And so there's that part of it, but there's the other part of it too, where from the time I was a baby, my parents met as peace activists. And a lot of you have heard me talk about this before, but my parents met as peace activists, and literally from the time that I was in the womb, I was out on the street marching for justice. And I have, when my dad passed away, I have a show and tell. My dad passed away when I was a baby, but before he passed away, he used to take me to a lot of marches for peace and justice. And this was in the, after he passed away, a very dear friend of his put together the scrapbook, because my dad had this really like beautiful, really kind, just like profound energy himself, which is a lot of how I was able to like move through that like way of living. And a lot of times like clients and friends of mine will say like just being in my presence makes them feel really peaceful. And my dad had that effect on people too. Anyway, my guide said that I should show you guys this. So this was put together after he passed away. There were like news clippings and letters that people wrote to my grandparents and to my family after he passed away. And a friend of his put together this book. And then one of my aunts, bless her, put together a copy of it for me at some point as an adult, because I didn't have a copy of it when I was a kid. And this is a picture of me and my dad and his best friend. And we are, you guys can see, Worcester scene. Shout out in the Worcester paper. They called me the littlest protester, which is really funny and cute. So I say that I bring this up not to, be like, aren't I the cutest little protester? But I was. But also because I have been studying peace and justice since I was born. I was an American Studies major in college. I studied US history. I studied global history. I have been knee deep in studying what is really happening on this planet from both a historical and a metaphysical perspective for basically my entire life. And the energies last week really reminded me a lot of the energy that was present when I was in 6th grade, when we went to war the first time with Iraq. And I remember it was right around Martin Luther King's birthday, because don't they just love to mess with us, right? Take a time when we're supposed to be honoring someone who fought so hard for humanity, and they go and start a big old war. And I remember sitting on the couch in our living room and just sobbing, because I was like, whatever the people are in charge are up to, it is not for the good of any of us. It's not for the animals. It's not for this earth. Whatever they say they're doing is not. I just knew, even when I was a kid, that it was all garbage. And when I was thinking about postponing this because I was so tired from my not sleeping, my guides mentioned, as I said, that it was just really important to really drive this message home. Because here's the thing. whatever we're being told about what's really going on right now, we can all put money on the fact that it's not whatever it is that we're being told. And we humans have been used for thousands of years, longer than that really, to play these games. We have been pitted against each other. We cannot keep fighting with each other. This is not about anyone else. And what have we witnessed the past 2 years, 3 years, however long all of this stuff with the other ways that we were all attempted to be like pitted against each other, right? How much of the narrative leading up to now has been about, not speaking. How many people have lost friends and relatives and literally gotten divorced and stopped speaking to their parents and lost friendships that went on for decades with people who like we all really loved because of all of the stuff with the things with people's personal health choices and politics. I'm not saying that we don't need to be really courageous and figure out what we value and stand really firm in that. But what I am saying is we cannot keep fighting with each other. This is not about what our neighbors or our mothers or our sisters or our fathers or people in other countries are doing. This is about no longer looking at what's happening around us or below us, and it is about looking up. And I mean that. I just got chills when I said that. But when I say look up, I mean both spiritually, because it's time. If you don't already have a spiritual practice that you are committed to and invested in, it is time to really amplify it. Whatever you're doing, make sure you are doing it, even when it feels impossible. That it's so important right now. Even if you only meditate or go on a walk or whatever it is that you do for a practice, even if you only do that for like 30 seconds or a minute every day, that is better than not doing it. My guides have been telling me so much the past couple of days how, and they've said this to me for a long time, but my life leading up to 2020 was literally Olympic level training on how to navigate trauma with as much grace and dignity and compassion for myself and the people around me as possible. It was not always graceful. A lot of you are very familiar with my story, right? Like I am gifted. I have a genius level spiritual IQ. This has been proven by science. The NEO assessment proved it. I mean, everyone that has ever read from me has also said that, and I know it myself. I channeled light language when I was a baby. I talked to my guides from the time I was a baby. Like, I have always just known that God existed, and also knew that I had a way where I made other people feel really like comfortable and safe in a way that other people didn't necessarily like cause that same reaction or have that same effect on other people. So I've been aware of my gifts for a long time. It doesn't mean I always listened, right? It doesn't mean that I always took the advice, but I always did my best. And it was all leading up to now. It was all leading up to now so that I would be able to have the fortification, the courage, a practice that is now going on 25 years. I learned how to meditate when I was 17. And then when I was a senior in college, I learned how to do this other really beautiful meditation called the Flower of Life. I got my Reiki 1 and 2 attunements pretty soon after that. It's been a long journey, but I was amassing all of that so that I could hold space for people now. So whatever it is that you're being called to do, whatever you are getting the hits, whether it is exploring a new healing modality, booking sessions with someone, hiring a spiritual mentor, joining a meditation study group, like whatever it is, going for more walks, buying a bird feeder, adopting a pet, learning how to cook. Like, it doesn't matter what it is that you're being called to do, but I call that stuff the whispers of your heart, which is just like another way of framing the guidance that you get. It's really important for you to start acting on that. It's really important for you. I keep hearing that phrase that Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. The way that we are going to fix this, it may seem counterintuitive, it may not make perfect sense, but the way that we are going to fix this is by healing our own hearts, by unraveling from patterns of codependence, and by no longer being quiet about injustice, and by no longer blaming other people who are also just trying to live their lives. Because at the end of the day, I think this was one of the things that was hardest for me to watch the past couple of years, is like politics driving families apart, right? What do any of us want at the end of the day? Literally the only thing that any of us wants is to be safe and to be happy and to have our family members, our spouses, our kids, our communities flourish and be happy. It's the same thing everybody wants. And if we start to look up and we start to question the narrative in an even bigger way, that's how we're going to really dismantle the mess that we have created. Because at the end of the day, our hearts, humans are so special. You guys know I love Barbara Marciniak, who channels the Pleiadians. And they have like a funny thing that they say where they'll be talking about how, like, what was it? They talk about how humans could be just like, sitting and staring at a cow for like 1,000 years. And then all of a sudden one day, you just wake up and you're like, oh, I'm gonna wake up and ascend. I'm gonna awaken. It's different. That's different. We have something very special. Our human hearts make us different than any other life. And that's why all of these systems work to keep us in strife with each other. Because if we don't understand what we're capable of, then it's very easy for us to be manipulated. And the other thing I've just been thinking so much about is, like, at the beginning of all of this stuff, remember there were acts of anti-Asian violence in the US and around the world. And I just kept thinking about that. And I kept thinking about, like, a friend of mine posted something the other day about, just reminding, like, people in his community not to, like, vandalize or commit acts of violence against Russian immigrants in the United States. And I was like, why do we keep doing this to each other? We can't do this to each other anymore. We cannot commit acts of violence against each other, against ourselves. It doesn't mean that you need to be a pushover. In fact, it means the exact opposite of it. It means you need to get really tight and really correct with your own boundaries and your own values. But one of the things all the trauma that I lived through did for me is that it made it so... I'm not saying, let me just also, like, really be clear here that I'm not saying I don't have fear, but my fears are different than most people's. And what I mean by that is there have been multiple times in my life where I was presented with a situation where I could have been in physical harm for interfering. Three come to mind. They all were when I lived in Brooklyn. Once I got off the subway and there was it was very late at night, there was a domestic violence situation that I intervened in. That was nutty. Another time I intervened in a situation of police brutality. And a third time, I got on a train and there was a homeless person who was seizing and bleeding. Like his face was bleeding and he was seizing. Everyone on the train was ignoring him. If you've lived in New York, you like will understand what I'm talking about, where you can just be like, what is even happening? Everyone is like mental and incapacitated and like can't even like acknowledge the stuff. You have to shut down so much when you live in a place like that. But I got on the train in Brooklyn. In the city. I was going home. I had been at school and at work. I was so tired. I get on the train. I see this guy seizing, bleeding. And I was like, what the F? And I was like looking around. Everyone was just acting like it wasn't happening. And I was like, okay, guys. I was like, I have to be the one to like pull the emergency brake, don't I? Hopefully I don't get like punched in the face by an MTA driver who's like, why did you do that? And I tried to find the conductor really quickly, couldn't find him. I did end up pulling the emergency brake, and he came running, and he was like, really, was like, why did you do that? And I was like, no, I was like, look, I was like, that guy is having a health crisis. I don't know why no one came and found you before, but like the train has to stop. Like we have to be the people who like cause total chaos in the entire New York City subway because the train has to stop while we wait. And he was like, oh my God. And he was like, whoa. He was like, all right, hold on. And he like ran, he made the call. And I sat with the guy. I literally held him until the paramedics got there. And everyone around me just like acted like they didn't even know what was happening. And I don't say that because I'm like, oh, aren't I the most special human? I say that because every time I ever heard people say stuff like, oh, people say that like they'll help a person, but like when push comes to shove, all people really care about is themselves. And I always knew it wasn't true because I knew that I would actually run towards danger to help people. And I'm not saying that, like, I appreciate also, like, we have to have good boundaries. We have to take care of ourselves. But part of standing up for justice is knowing that no matter what happens to you in this human body, we are all part of the divine. We are part of one another. When there is one drop of injustice, it affects all of us. So be kind to each other. Even if you need to have like clear boundaries with people who it really isn't like comfortable or safe or easy for you to have relationships anymore, I appreciate all of that. But find a way to forgive them. Even if you still have to have the boundary. And find a way to forgive yourself. All of the shame and all of the karma and all of the drama that all of us have carried around with us. Internally, it affects the external. All of the ways that we infight with each other. That person is a Republican. That person is a who's-he what's-it. That person is a different race or different sex or different gender or blah, 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 blah. None of that matters. Do not get sucked into their garbage paradigm. It is time to wake up and love each other and love ourselves. It's time to love yourself with a courage that you have never known before. Literally, I want everyone on this who's watching this now or is watching this in the future to literally get a mirror and be so corny. Sit with a mirror and look at yourself and be like, I love you. I love you. Say it loud and say it proud. Be your own biggest cheerleader. And love the people around you when you go outside. Say hello to the trees. It does not matter how dorky you look. I say this as someone who is like always, forever been like saying hello to every animal I meet and to the literally, I'm a tree hugger. Love the earth with courage. It's time to stop being embarrassed by being a person who shows emotion. It is time to lean in. So I want to take a minute, and I have two things. We're gonna do a prayer before we wrap this up. And before I do the prayer, because I'm gonna go, I can like feel I'm gonna get like, it's gonna be real time warpy, so also be ready for this. I said that this was gonna be a really powerful activation, just being in my energy. We've already been shifting into that sense of like deeper courage and love for ourselves and the planet, but we are going to go a little bit deeper. We're gonna say a prayer. I'm gonna channel some light language. And I also want to invite all of you to join me on not this Friday, but the following Friday, which is the 13th. I am being such a space cadet. I can't remember what the date is. No, it's the 11th, I think. Anyway, whatever this, not this Friday, but the following Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be leading a group activation. If you were excited by this, you want to go deeper, you want to unravel some of the trauma that you are experiencing, that you feel like is keeping you from being able to be courageous in big and small ways, I really encourage you to join me. It's going to be super fun. I've been doing group activations for a while. They are remarkable. It's $97. It's going to go from it's going to start at 6 p.m. It'll be somewhere between like 90 to 120 minutes. I'm always trying to keep it brief, but for people who want to receive, I love to just give you the world. So I really encourage you. My group activations are wild. People feel so different after doing them. Every time I do one of these, the feedback is incredible. So sign up for that. I'll put the link in the comments. Like I said, that's Friday the 11th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you can't make it live, still sign up for it. You'll all get the recording. It's going to be amazing. And also next week, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is free. This is going to be here, and we are here to remember. And if you're catching this on Instagram, then go ahead and join my Facebook group, because my client and one of my favorite people, just in the world, Jenna Donovan, who has a business called Nova Sounds. She is one of my graduates of Angelic Alchemy. We're going to be doing a live. We're going to talk about what her experience was like working with me, but she is a remarkably gifted light language healer and a sound healer. She has crystal bowls. She has the voice of a freaking angel, and she and I are going to be doing a live at 2 p.m. this coming Wednesday, not tomorrow, but the following week. So mark your calendar, because that is going to be lit. I really can't wait to do it. We're going to talk about stuff, but we're also going to do like a collaborative healing for everybody. So that's going to be really fun. So again, that's going to be next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is free, live here in my Facebook group. And then the Friday after that, same week. Man, I'm really feeling the lack of sleep at this point. 6 p.m. Friday of next week is when I'm going to be doing that group activation for peace and justice, fortification of your spiritual courage and boundaries. It's going to be amazing. So you can sign up to do that also. And I love all of you so much. So let's take a minute or 2 or 3 or however long this goes on for, and take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. I want to set the intention that this is to really cultivate peace in all of your hearts and cultivate peace in the world. It's time for us to really steward the earth and steward each other and be for each other. Be for the animals, be for the plants, be for the water, be for all of humanity. It's time. It's really time. This time was destined. This is literally written in the stars. Every ancient religion, every culture saw that this was going to be a really remarkable time of change as we entered a totally new age. It's been called all kinds of things. 1,000 years of peace, the golden age, 5D, the new earth. It doesn't matter what you call it, it's the same thing. It's living in peace with each other. It's finding a way to really, really love yourself and love the earth. So, that is my intention for this. Put your hands on your heart. If you can close your eyes, that's awesome. If you can't and you need to focus on driving or something like that, just come back when you can. I love you so much. Send a grounding cord deep from your center through your second chakra, through your root, all the way through your feet, deep through all the layers of the earth, straight to her sacred center. Marry it in her energy. She is your true mother. Pull that light and love up from her center, back through your body, all the way up to the stars, and let it really ground in all parts of you. It is time for you to rise up for yourself, to rise up for the children, to rise up for the animals, to rise up for the water and the earth and the sky, to find inner peace. May that light language really help to inspire you to live in courage, live in peace, and live in justice. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. Share this with anyone that you think will benefit from it. My mission is the only thing that I've ever really... I've been good at stuff, but this is what I was born to do, was help all of you find a way to live in peace and harmony while these structures are falling around us and we move into something better. May you live in peace. May your families live in peace. Your communities, this planet, and all life everywhere. I love you so much. I will see you next week. Bye.